Hello everyone, myself Nishtha Desai, and my today's presentation topic is From the Trenches to the Stage, War Trauma in the Theatre of Absurd. These are my academic informations, and these are table of contents. Here, hypothesis and research question is how does theater of absurd represent the psychological impact of war trauma through the fragmentation narratives, absurdist technique, and disoriented characters in the play Waiting for Godot and the Birthday Party. First of all, let's begin with introduction. So we all know that the horrors of World War One and World War Two deeply influenced literature and drama, giving rise to theater of absurd. World War One and World War Two leads people to theater of absurd because the fragmentation chaos of both the world wars. The writers improve the skill of theater of absurd writing style, and there are some playwriters like Samuel Beckett, Harold Pinters used the fragmented dialogue, uncertainty, and existential themes to reflect the psychological impact of war. And in the both the play Waiting for Godot and the Birthday Party, we will see how the fragmentation of and chaos of war used by both the playwright. So, understanding what trauma means the deep psychological and emotional response to distressing or life threatening events. It can result from war, violence, loss, or personal hardships, often leading to long term effects such as fear, anxiety, and post traumatic stress disorder. And psychological effect of war trauma. War leaves soldiers and civilians with lasting emotional and mental scars. And in the survival of guilt, we can notice that soldiers uh, felt guilt after the war. In the one of the novel, we familiar with this, an artist of the floating world. In that novel, one of painter who increased the soldiers for fighting war. So after that, he has guilt what he did in his past, and also we can notice that one of singer committed suicide in that novel. Then post-traumatic stress disorders and the theater of absurd. Absurdist play reflect the mental disorientation of post-traumatic stress disorder victims and characters in the Vladimir and Estragon, and in the Birthday Party, Macon, Goldberg, and Stanley. In the Stanley, he in the last he was visionless and also voiceless because of Stanley's psychological harassment, mental harassment. And the cultural and literary reflection. Literature and drama use fragmented narratives to express the chaos of post-traumatic stress disorders. War trauma has shaped modern theater, creating stories that highlight the absurdity of suffering and survival. So, what is the theater of absurd? Now we all know what is the theater of absurd. Theater of absurd is a form of post-World War II drama, and it reflects the trauma, confusion, and meaninglessness of the modern world. And it's coined by Martin Esslin and existential thinkers like Albert Camus' Myth of Sisyphus, and Sartre's absurdist play. These reflect the challenges of the absurdist key themes. And key playwrighter like Samuel Beckett, Harold Pinter, and Eugene Ionesco, Jean Genet wrote these absurd theater pattern. And here are some features of absurd literature: lack of plot structure in the absurd theater. Then repetitive dialogue in the Waiting for Godot. We all know that whenever Estragon said that let's go, but Vladimir said that no, we can't because we're waiting for Godot. But then he also has a fear. If they gone and Godot will come, Godot will punish them. Why? Because then they are waiting for Godot and they not fulfill that waiting. And then existential themes like explores human isolation, confusion, and search for meaning. And dark humor, absurd situations blend comedy and tragedy to reflect life unpredictability. Major playwrights and works. Samuel Beckett's famous play Waiting for Godot, it reflects endless waiting and existential despair. Harold Pinter's Birthday Party, it reflects psychological tension. And Eugene Ionesco's Bard Sorpreno. And then connection to war. It reflects the disillusionment and psychological impact of war. And also it highlights the emotional numbness, reflect the trauma of that World War time of soldiers and another people. War trauma in Waiting for Godot. Waiting for Godot was written in aftermath in World War II. It was published in 1952, and when Europe was devastated and survivors were left disoriented. And in the play also we can notice that the purposeless waiting of Vladimir and Estragon, and they both reflect the forgetfulness, anxiety, and physical suffering. And they mentioned beatings and hunger, reflecting struggles, displaced war veterans. So it symbolizes uncertainty of soldiers during the wartime. Then there are some original dialogues of Waiting for Godot. Was I sleeping while the others suffered? Am I sleeping now? It's told by Vladimir in Act 2, and it reflects the survivor's guilt and trauma, highlighting existential confusion. Then they give birth. Astride gave the light gleams and instant, then it's night once more. It's told by Pozo in Act 2, and it symbolizes the fleeting nature of life and endless cycle suffering. Then nothing to be done. It's multiple times told by Vladimir and Estragon in Waiting for Godot. And then war trauma in the Birthday Party, and Harold Pinter's Birthday Party, which was published in 1957, and it's also a form of comedy of menace, and it reflects the psychological fear. And here we can say that Stanley's psychological breakdown in the end by Goldberg and Macon. Then interrogation is a psychological torture, and then in the end, loss of identity of Stanley's character and fear of unknown. The ambiguous traits in the identity and trauma. Here are some dialogues during interrogation time. Goldberg, why did you leave the organization? Stanley, I never joined. Goldberg, liar, you are traitor to the cloth. Why did you betray us? So it reflects the Stanley's collapse under the psychological warfare, mirroring the disorientation and helplessness of war trauma, where identity, memory, and truth break down under the oppressive authority. War and absurdist psychological perspective. So we can say that war shatters faith in reason, order, and language. Then absurdism reflects the psychological world. In the Beckett and Pinter's character trapped in meaningless routine, haunted by fear, guilt, and absence of purpose in both the play's characters. And absurd drama captures the internal chaos left by external war. Estragon and Vladimir in Waiting for Godot represent lost soldiers endlessly waiting, coping through the repetitive speech and absurd action. And in the Birthday Party, in Stanley's character shows a breakdown under psychological torture and reflecting trauma. the lasting impact of absurdist theatre. Absurdist theatre continues to shape modern drama, literature, and cinema. That's all reflect in the modern time, and its influence on the theatre scene is like Rosencrantz, Goodstone are dead by Stoppard and 4.48 Psychosis by Ken, which disrupt the liner narratives and then impact on film like movies such as Doctor Strangelove and Sandok, New York reflect the absurdist theme of fate, identity, and meaningless. So the key themes are miscommunication, existential despair, and circular of storytelling. To conclusion, the theater of absurd powerfully captures the psychological scares and existential confusion of war. And we can notice that in both the character of the birthday party and waiting for Godot's character lead towards the psychological trauma of the World War and their breakdown of communication in that play. So we can say that trenches to the world absurd theater. These are my reference sources, and thank you. If anyone have question, please ask.
You, does absurdist theater offer a solution to war trauma, or does it only highlight its hopelessness?
So, yes, Sagar. Absurdist theater not we can say that give a solution of the drama, but it give us rethinking. We rethink about that events and all those things. So it not directly give us a solution.
So, Nishtha, how is the absurdity depicted in absurdist theatre relevant to today's global conflicts?
So, yes, Nancy, in today's global conflict, we can say that unsolved questions, disillusionment, fragmentation of countries, in global conflicts in the countries of Ukraine, Russia war, we country people, and then Gaza, Israel, and earlier the Balochistan conflict. So we can say that it's depict absurdity and it's relevant today also.